What's up, everybody? I am Destroyer, your coach of the Washington Wake Pokemon Draft League team. We are in Meloetta, week 2 of season 6. We are up against Josh and the Starter Supremes. Let's have a look at his team here. He's got Tera Zarude, which is very scary. Lots of great setup options with that. He's got Golden Go. He has Klefki with the screens and the T-Wave and the Prankster Madness. Pretty bulky team overall. A lot of good coverage and some good speed options too. So I think he's got a really good balanced team here, and let's have a look at what I'm going to try and do to break that. We're bringing a very similar set to we did last week with Tera Steel, Loaded Dice. Garchomp worked really well for us last week, so we're going to give it a try again. We have Poison Jab on there for coverage is the only extra thing compared to last week, and that is for Azumarill, as well as could go hard into his Zarude potentially. He could have a Tera Fairy Zarude there. We're bringing Necrozma for the first time with Weakness Policy. Has enough bulk to be able to survive a knockoff as long as it's unboosted from Zarude, as well as a Shadow Ball from Golden Go. And if I can get a Dragon Dance off on the same turn as taking one of those hits with those moves, it's got a pretty good chance to do some serious sweeping damage. We're bringing Incineroar. Just picked up Incineroar this week. It goes really hard into this team. He's got lots of dark and ghost coverage, and Incineroar will be a good pivot to absorb those things and get back out. Weavile is coming along pretty much as a Choice Scarf sort of speed control option for us. With the Scarf, it should be faster than all of his things, even if they are Scarfed or if they are boosted at +1. We'll bring in Vaporeon for the first time as well. Water Absorb will be really nice versus his Azumarill if he brings that. We have Haze there in case he goes for a Belly Drum on it. Wish and Flip Turn just for kind of pivoting and longevity. Scald there just as a single attack to hopefully do some chip and pass around some burns. And last up, we are bringing Forretress. Rapid Spin, Volt Switch, Body Press, and we have Earthquake as well. I have Earthquake there because it does super effective damage into a couple of his mons, but specifically into Golden Go, who, if he is setting up hazards, he's likely to use Golden Go for a spin blocker. And if we can call that switch, we can either Volt Switch or we can hit it with an Earthquake as it comes in. So that's the team, and let's get into the match. Okay, everybody, we're getting into the match here. Have to let you know I wasn't able to record live vocals during this match, unfortunately, so this is a post-com version. At this point, I'm exchanging Tera types with Josh, which is the rule that we do in this league. You can have whatever type you want on your captains. You just have to tell your opponent as the match is starting here. So he's letting me know he has Tera Fire Zarude. I've got Tera Steel on Jab there on Garchomp. And we are leading Golden Boy here with hopes that maybe we can get up a couple hazards. Hazards are always great to have. We put spikes on this thing last minute. And just looking at his team, it has a pretty decent matchup into most of his team, other than the Tera Fire on Zarude, which we weren't really expecting. Most of his team is not a terrible matchup for Forretress. It is especially weak, so we have to watch out for Golden Go. Also kind of expecting, he did bring his Mask Rain, maybe he'll get some webs up here. So leading, and then he's got his Golden Go coming out here. But leading our own Golden Boy here allows us to, if he was to do Mask Rain, get rid of those spikes, or webs, sorry, spikes is what we have. So now I'm trying to decide, do I take the probably Shadow Ball from Golden Go here, or do I go to Ripster to my Incineroar? End up going to Incineroar. Incineroar looked like it had a pretty strong matchup into this whole team, so I was really excited to try out Incineroar for the first time this week. Never really used him in a league before. He just eats this Shadow Ball, no problem. We do have heavy duty boots on him, max HP and SPDEF, I believe. So he's a great golden go counter with that. We're expecting he's going to switch out, and so he's mostly physical on his other attackers. And so we throw out the Will-O-Wisp, kind of expecting something might come in and get burnt. And of course, it's OnlyFans, his Donphan there. Great name, we appreciate that. Get that thing burned. Liking how this is going so far. Getting a burn off on Donphan there really helps, having its attack, of course. Donphan is not always, or not usually, a super strong just attacker. It can be. I think it has base 120 attack, but it's also a great utility mon. Spinner has rocks of its own. So now I'm kind of looking at, what do I do here? I don't really want to stay in versus this thing. It still gets Earthquake, which can still chunk me pretty good because of its super effectiveness. We're faster. I was kind of taking the gamble that we'd be faster there. We're a base 65 versus a base 50, so unless he had invested in speed, that would be the case. So now he's really nerfed with the parting shot there too, and we just opt to bring in Golden Boy. He sets up his rocks. So now I'm kind of thinking the obvious thing here for me to do is to try and rapid spin. So I expect him to predict that and bring in his Golden Go. So rather than spinning, I think I go for spikes here, just to get some kind of progress in the game going. He does switch out. Brings in the cheese string. We get out the spikes. And we're thinking, alright, great. We're walling this thing pretty good with Incineroar, so let's just go back to Incineroar. See what he does. And he's got Focus Blast, which I really wasn't expecting. Really lucked out by missing that Focus Blast there. I think that we can survive one of them. Go for a knockoff. He goes for another Focus Blast and he misses again. So super lucky on my part there. We hammer it with a knockoff. I kind of thought he was going to switch out. He was Scarf. Good to know. I should have hit Flare Blitz in hindsight there. Was just kind of clicking buttons. Wasn't sure if he was going to stay in, and knockoff is just good versus anything because of forcing some progress with losing items. But really, yeah, in hindsight, it would have been smarter for me just to go for the Flare Blitz and kill that thing, because he also doesn't want to switch in like Zarude to a Flare Blitz. He doesn't want to bring most of his team in on a Flare Blitz, so he keeps his Golden Go alive. Goes back to his Donphan. Hammer Donphan with a knockoff. Get rid of that Rocky Helmet, thankfully. Not without taking some pretty good damage in the meantime. So we know we're faster. We can just parting shot here. Kind of expecting maybe him to spin away those spikes, because he's handicapped enough with his attack that he's not really going to be able to force a whole lot of progress with doing physical attacks. So it makes sense for him to spin here. He does spin. It's a crit. Does 10 damage with the crit. So kind of don't expect him to stay in, and we're just going to toss out spikes again, expecting that maybe he goes back to Golden Go, and we kind of repeat the cycle. His Donphan gets chipped down. In comes in Golden Go again. Hindsight, it might have been smart for me just to do a volt switch there, which probably kills that thing at that range or gets really close. But now I'm in stuck versus it, so to decide to where do I go? Do I take the hit on Fortress? Do I take the hit on Incineroar again? We do know he has Focus Blast now. Depending on the move he does, he can threaten our whole team with Golden Go now that we know that he has Focus Blast. So we decide Ripster's already a little bit hurt. Let's bring him in. If the Focus Blast hits, it hits. Almost kind of just sacking him at this point in time, which in hindsight kind of wish I hadn't done, because Ripster is a pretty good matchup into a lot of his team here, and we just lost him, unfortunately. So okay, we know he's got a Scarf knocked off. We can outspeed him with Garchomp. We can outspeed him with Weavile. I have weakness policy on Slamoo here, and I'm kind of thinking that might be fun. We have it EV'd to where it should always live a non-specs or non-boosted Shadow Ball here. So I'm thinking if I can get a Dragon Dance off, get hit by a Shadow Ball, I'll be faster next and be at +3 attack. Weakness policy goes off. Getting really excited. This is the first time that I've been able to use Necrozma before. So excited that the tech seems to be working at this point. And at this point we just go for the kill. Knockoff will do the job. At +3 it'll hurt anything that wants to switch into us as well. Okay, he just gives up his Goldie. And this was a little bit of excitement on my part to use Necrozma, but definitely an oversight because he still has his Azu. And of course he brings in his Azu. We have to assume it's got Aqua Jet, and we're definitely in Aqua Jet range here. So, feel kind of dumb for using up my tech that early. We go into Gordon here, who has Water Absorb, kind of expecting that we're going to see an Aqua Jet. We do. We get that HP back that we lost on the spikes. Yeah, Scald, do a little bit of chip on this thing. We are faster. Do we get the burn? Ooh, we get a crit. He goes for the belly drum. And I'm just fine with that because I actually had EV'd Vaporeon here to make sure that it's faster than Azu here. So we're totally fine with this. We have Haze. I believe I made it fast enough to outspeed a max speed Adamant Nature. If he was Jolly, I would have been out of luck. But I didn't think he really had a reason to be Jolly. Still hurts quite a bit there with even an unboosted play rough. Vaporeon is decently thick physically with max investment, which is, this is almost max, but Azu just hits like a truck. So we don't expect he's going to stay in. We go for the flip turn. Looking good as far as momentum at this point. And he brings out Klefki for the first time. Klefki can be a super annoying Pokemon. Gets dual screens. It gets spikes. It gets Thunder Wave, which can be super annoying. So I go for Garchomp here because I don't want to get Thunder Waved. Kind of assuming that he's going to go for some spikes or some screens here. So I decide just to try and get some damage off on this thing. And because I expected him to pick up those screens, I didn't want to start setting up and start my end game this soon. I do have on my Necrozma Psychic Fangs. I'm thinking maybe he's going to get Light Screen up. Maybe I can get a free switch into my Necrozma here. I should be faster than Klefki to be able to get a Psychic Fangs off. And I'm thinking this is my free switch in. He's definitely going to go for Light Screen or get some spikes going. Survive the rocks. And at this point, Necrozma, we just want you to get Psychic Fangs off. He goes for the attack, unfortunately, for us there. So, that's really unfortunate. So we lose Necrozma. We've got no way at this point to get rid of these screens, except for just to kind of wait them out. Our only special attacker is Gordon here. So we're kind of in a rough spot at the moment because we have Reflect up and because we only have physical attackers left. So I think we just go for a Wish here. He gets a Light Screen off too. At this point we're kind of just hoping to wait out some turns a little bit here. So I can't remember what I do here. Do I stay in and collect the Wish on Gordon? Kind of thinking that that's what I do, and just get a Scald off and maybe catch a burn on something as it's coming in. He gets some spikes set up. Not ideal, but at the same time, it's a screen turn that's gone where he's not setting up on us, so we appreciate that. Probably should go for like a flip turn here. I'm not sure what I do. Do I Wish again? Do I go for another Scald? I think what I should do here is flip turn out and go into Fortress and maybe start spinning away some of these hazards. I think I'm also kind of thinking, how do I waste some more turns? And so this is not good. He switches to something. He brings in Masquerain. At the moment I'm kind of like, alright, well at least it's not Zarude. Kind of expect that he's going to be going for webs here. You always have to be ready for the webs. He gets the webs out. We flip turn. Our saving grace on the webs anyways is that we have Fortress and his Golden Go is gone. So we should be able to get these spun away here. Wish is pretty much wasted. All it does is heal off a little bit of rock damage there for us. We just go for the spin. He goes for a Quiver Dance, which is not something that I was expecting. So that can quickly kind of become a problem for us. So go for, I think, the Volt Switch here. We can't do much with Fortress versus Masquerain. We need to get something in here that can take this thing out. So I think I'll go for the Volt Switch. Kind of what I'm looking at here is how fast is Masquerain. I have a Choice Scarf on my Weavile. So I may be able to outspeed it even after a Quiver Dance or two. I'm looking in the calculator. I can't remember exactly what my speed investment was on Weavile, but it looked like a max Weavile would be faster than a +2 Masquerain here. So I decide, well, let's go into Weavile. Also looks like Triple Axle likely kills this thing. A Imperfect, the Reflect wears off. Knockoff has a really good chance to kill this thing as well, depending again on his EV investment. After kind of looking at the numbers, I decide there's a better chance for Knockoff to kill it than for me to hit all 3 Triple Axles and be able to kill it. So we're thinking. but we go for the knockoff here eventually. And it doesn't matter because he's faster. So we just totally wasted our Weavile there. Now I'm really kind of panicking. Didn't think I'd be getting swept by a Masquerain here. My only shot, I'm kind of thinking, is I do have Tera Steel on Garchomp here. I don't know what all his moves are. He's got Bug Buzz. We don't know what his other move is. But we at least resist Bug. Its other stab type is Flying. And so we just hope, let's just hit Tera, survive, and if we can hit this thing with the Scale Shot, should be able to kill. Wishing at the same time too that maybe I just done this originally instead of wasting my Weavile, but calculations I did, I messed up on the EVs. So we lost Weavile. I'll stop talking about that. He goes for an Air Slash. We survive it okay, but we get the flinch. And that flinch is just absolutely brutal for us. We can't complain too much because he missed a couple of Focus Blasts earlier. He goes for a second Air Slash. I don't get flinched, so we at least are able to not get swept by Masquerain, which is wonderful. But because of that first flinch, I'm now very vulnerable for being killed by Azu. I kind of expect he brings in Azu here. He could also bring in his Klefki and just get some screens up before he dies. I'm also no longer ground, so I can be Thunder Waved. He goes for Donphan, which I think was kind of curious at the time. Wondering why he did that. Kind of looking at like why would he do that? What can I? Is it best for me to stay in? Seems like we're okay versus Donphan here. Unless he's got like a... We know he doesn't have a Cuss Stat Berry, so we just go for an Earthquake, which should kill it. He's got the Ice Shard, which thankfully with Tera Steel doesn't do much, and doesn't do much because Donphan is burned, so we at least are able to kill Donphan. Actually not sure why he went Donphan just instead of Azu for the Aqua Jet. Maybe he was worried about me going into Vaporeon again. Brings Klefki back out. Klefki is now damaged to where it's not able to survive another switch in, so we like that. We switch out from fear of paralysis, thinking maybe there's a way we can use this thing to come back and win at the end. Ultimately, we just give him a free turn to get a Reflect up, unfortunately. So, we're in a kind of a rough spot here. I'm kind of thinking I need Garchomp to win this. Maybe I can get a Wish off and do a Wish Pass to it. And he brings in, I'm guessing, Zarude here. Yep, Rafiki. And this is quite scary for me. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, incoming Power Whip. What am I going to do about that? Actually, I'm able to survive a Power Whip, but with not very much health left. And so I could have flip turned here and gone back into Jab and had him healed up a little bit. Problem being with this thing being Tera Fire as well is it's got a super effective move for everything that I have left. We opt to go into Fortress here, thinking, okay, maybe we can force him to Tera at least. Doesn't do much there. We get the Wish. We've had a couple of Wish passes that have barely done anything to help Golden Boy here, but we keep him at full health anyway, so he at least gets off one move. Didn't do any calculations here. We don't have any way to do damage or progress against Zarude except for Body Press. So we go for Body Press. with that Terrifier, though, things are not looking good for us. Zarude is in a sword stance as well, which is a really smart move on his part. If he just would have went for the Tera Blast and killed me, I potentially could have come back in with Vaporeon, lived one hit, and gotten a Scald off on him. I don't think a Scald would have killed him necessarily, but my only way left to maybe do some damage. He gets me down to my sturdy. We go for a Volt Switch to a little bit more chip. At this point, we either gotta hope that he's got this thing EV'd without speed in it, in which case maybe Garchomp can outspeed and kill it with an Earthquake. And so that's what we're gonna find out here. But really, Garchomp is, if we can't kill this thing, then we're out of luck. And Garchomp is not going to do anything to Azu at this point in time because of its priority. He unfortunately is EV'd to outspeed us, so we lose Garchomp. Not looking good for us here. Really, our only hope at this point is that we can bring in Azu. I'm sorry, we bring in Vaporeon, and if we can have him, if he misses a Power Whip, we can hit him with a Scald. Which again, I don't think kills him, but really, it's our only hope at this point in time. Because of the Sword Stance, he will kill us if he hits. And he gets us. So, at this point, it is good game. Gotta bring out Fortress and let him die as well here, but yeah, but unfortunately that's kind of how it looks with Open Tera here, is you think you have a defensive core. Fortress ordinarily is a pretty good, decent wall for Zarude, but with Terrifier, it's quite the opposite. And so with Fire as well as with his Grass Stabs, he was just able to break my walls there. Should have saved Weavile, should have saved something faster, but well played, Josh. First loss of the season here in Game 2, and we'll hope to bounce back next week.